This is a unanimous presentation bringing to you the amazing documentary research art paper on the mystery of the original Black Hercules and the miracle of the Lotus Omnifractal. This presentation is dedicated to the many ancient sages and saints of India, and also to Lord Krishna, who is the source and fountainhead of spiritual knowledge reaching back 5,000 years, and the origins of the Lotus mathematics and science, and how to bring unity towards all the different sciences, aspects of spirituality, history, biology, and the various sciences that we have today in the modern world. I'd also like to give my honor and respect to the Golden Avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who amalgamated the various Vaishnava philosophies and cosmologies to bring about unity. And in that disciplic succession leading up to more modern times, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who founded ISKCON with a desire to share Vedic cosmology and Vedic spirituality as an essential principle for a civilized life. Also to bring value to unification of sciences, to simplify and bring natural world and realize that there's a source. And also I'd like to give my regards and respect to the many scientists that have shared their mathematical genius and wisdoms, and also to the many artists and photographers who have given so much effort and time to bringing alive the wisdom of the lotus. This wisdom is extremely important for the modern age because not only does it give such a unique principle, but it also instills a kind of connection with not only oneself but also with the universe in the most beautiful and original way. What we're seeing is the nature of the lotus to be of sustenance and food. You know, not only being a beautiful flower, it's also full of medicinal and healthy opportunities for humanity to get nutrition and sustenance and medicine, and has been used for many thousands of years by many tribes of Asia and America, and particularly the Himalayas, where it's used extensively for all purposes, from the seeds, which can be turned into puffs and spiced, and just really yummy, nutritious, deeply medicinal food. And this food is given sustenance to many civilizations that have sprung up around the Himalayas and other parts of the world, who've depended on the lotus, its roots, its shoots and seeds for food. And medicine, of course. Medicine is a very important part of growing civilization, and also entertainment. We can see that it brings great joy to the many people of modern times to have pastimes of sitting on lotus petals and designing all kinds of lotus-shaped potentials, and very beautiful looking. The lotus is so beautiful, and it's so full of wonderful medicinal properties. You know, many molecules in it are very powerful and for anti-aging, So it has this sense of antiquity. Lotus flowers, they've been around for a very long time, and they've had to survive through hundreds of millions of years as they manifested their various healing potentials in healing ponds and bringing medicinal qualities. And you can see that the lotus and the lilies, being a part of the angiosperm, they've covered most of the planet over the last 150 million years, bringing life through the different ages of time and leaving fossil records all over the planet, as you can see. As the lotus has evolved, it's taken various shapes and forms, as we saw in the beginning, from the breakup of Laurasia and Gondwana and the formation of the modern world, as we see with our continents. The plants come a long way, but this shape of the lotus has been even before the lotus came into existence, and it took various forms in other epochs and periods of time where the plant life, taking those forms, took other various shapes in the form of sea lilies and different kinds of moss through the different eras of time, and also in previous ages taking the various forms of energy. So the fossil record brings about a knowledge. This is talked about in the Indian Puranas, called the Padma Purana, which is the history, the deep time history of the lotus through the fossil record. And the ancient rishis realized that the lotus is something very primal and almost eternal, being fossilized into the ancient stones from where they grew in ancient times. And this fossil record solidifies the ancient nature of the lotus flower and other plants of the time that begin to flower 150 million years ago or so, and to bring about the modern forests of even today. And so the fossil record keeps us on track and looking back in time, recognizing that some angiosperm and particularly the lotus go back even further, possibly into the Jurassic times, and all continents have some record of the lotus in their stone records and fossil records. So this has a deep spiritual connection to time, and feeling that connection way back into antiquity. We see this same form manifesting even in ancient times of the ammonites, or the sacred Shalagram back into ancient times, where the sea lily or the crinoids, an ancient sea animal that still exists today, takes the form of a lotus. And here we see the kind of unification of the Bhagavat Purana and the Padma Purana, going back into deep time where the oceans were full of aquatic life and forests, kind of like the desire forests of the ancient times. The kind of creatures that lived at that time that are now extinct were the giant ammonites and their various other families that are also in the fossil record, going back many hundreds of millions of years to a time where the earth was more or less covered by water. And these giant animals taking and living almost all over the planet. We see such a giant species, and in various forms. They were a dominant food source for many animals. In the Vedic sense, they were like the source of the Matsya avatar, being the food source for our ancient, in a sense, our ancient ancestors, and the beautiful shapes that they took, also in this spiraling lotus fashion. So there seems to be a very deep spiritual connection with this sacred fossil that's worshipped as the source of life on this planet, that these ancient forms gave rise to the potential for life as a foundation, and are worshipped in the Indian culture as sacred parts of their culture. They connect deeply to cosmology, spirituality, theories of deep time and ancient history. They're just so beautiful in all their different shapes and forms, and it's a very sought after fossil. And India, particularly the fossils from the Kali Gandaki in Nepal and from around the world, are seen as very sacred and very beautiful objects to think about deep time and the sciences of ancient history. In the Puranas, you'll find that there are many talks of the different manvantaras that stretch back many hundreds of millions of years to the beginnings of life. And through the last 7 manvantaras, with us being now in the current manvantar, the different manifestations of Shalagram in the different, particularly in the second manvantar, and the correlation between these times to the various periods or epochs. Also a deep sense of Matsya Purana, or the fish incarnation, and these incarnation cycles related to the evolution of life on this planet. The flowers also, the flowers come into being in a relative few hundred million years, and some of those plants have been fossilized in amber, giving us, access to the development of flowers and the development of insects and the forest. We're going to be talking a lot about the forest because the forest is related to the development of humanity, and without the forest, both in a cosmic sense and also on planet Earth, there is a deep need for this wild energy that brings about development of humanity. We see the ancient moss taking the shape of the lotus, and the ancient cactus taking that same shape, that Brahma Kamal, many other associated plants taking this beautiful shape, this lotus shape. This whole churning up from the very depths of evolution from underneath, this shape and form of the lotus. We see it materialized through all these plants, this living structure, this living fractal of life blossoming forth into such beautiful shapes.
Lotus 1, 2, 3.